Shabbat Shalom. There have been a lot of introductions for me in the last week, and I'm learning a little bit about this community through the way that we introduce ourselves. And I've noticed there's different ways. So in New York, you say your name, and what's the next question? What do you do, right? And a friend of mine in San Francisco says the next question is, what are you working on? Because they're all in tech. My brother lives in DC, and it's what's your name and who do you work for? In Philadelphia here, it seems to be name and what you love about Temple Beth El Bethel. Yeah, right. These introductions are important because we're trying to get to know one another. And the best way to do that is often through the top sheet of the resume. Right? Where did you go to school? And, who do we have in common? Or what do you do? Those are important ways to get to know each other. And actually, the Torah is in no way an exception to this. The parsha that we read today begins, Zot Chukat Torah. This is the law of the Torah. And then proceeds to tell us about the red heifer and what one does there. Trying to summarize the entire Torah in this line. And it's not the only place where that happens. The Yerushalmi does the same thing where rabbis argue, which is Klal Gadol b'Torah, which is the law in the Torah that is the most important. Is it love your neighbor as you love yourself? Is it these are the generations of Adam? Now, why do we try to distill something so beautiful, something so complex into a one-line, into a nice, good 10-word answer? What's the point? Maybe it's about distilling values. What is the main thing in the Torah? Is it loving other people today, or is it our history? Or is it the law itself in Chukat? Maybe. Maybe we try to distill what we are into one line because just easier. People don't have, even back then, such an attention span. And so you want to share to make sure you get them hooked, and then you can learn the rest. And that might be it as well. One rabbi suggests the reason why the Torah this morning says that Zot Chukat Torah, about one of the weirdest, most esoteric laws there is so that you open the book and keep reading, and you investigate further. Maybe that's what it is. And when you introduce yourself to someone today, maybe you give the most interesting fact about yourself that you have. There's a good challenge for Shabbat at Kiddush. I want to hear the most interesting fact that you have about yourself. And this distillation is important, but it is ultimately unsatisfying. And it's ultimately unsatisfying because the Torah is way more complex than one law or one idea. And we as human beings are way more complex and have way more to us than just, the first line, the quote under your name on your resume or something like that. And not only are we sometimes defined, but we self-define. And we see this also in this week's Parsha at the end of the Parsha. Because Moses, when he's going to invite to Edom, to the kings, to say, please let us through, he gives a little 2-line summary of who we are. He says, hi, we're your brothers. We were slaves in Egypt. We got out because of God. We're trying to get home to Israel. That's his little recap of everything that's happened in the Torah already. And in this, we see Moshe being selective. Moses could have said, we are the descendants of Abraham. We believe in one God. That's who we are. Moses could have said, we are the bearers of this new law called the Torah. We're trying to get to the place where the temple's going to be. That's who we are. So in choosing what he chooses to say, we are your brothers, first of all, the rabbis already say, what's Moshe trying to do? A little bit of manipulation of Edom, right? Don't forget, we all come back to being Jacob and Esau. We were brothers at one point. And by saying we were slaves and God freed us, Moses is also subtly saying we've had it hard. But also don't forget we've got some power behind us too. So please let us through. And we all as people do this as well. When we introduce ourselves, when we walk into a room, we put certain parts of ourselves before us. This is what Brene Brown calls our representative. We send our representative out into the world. So, I, Ethan Witkovsky, am, flawed and odd and all of the things that I am that you'll all get to know, I'm sure. But when I walk into a room, it's Rabbi Witkovsky. That's the representative that I send out because that's what I want you to see first. And we all do this. So here's my bargain with all of you. We've got a lot of time to get to know each other, and I can't wait. So let's start with the top sheet. Where do we go to school and who are we and what do we do? I know you're all doctors, but other than that, what kind of doctor are you? Who do we know in common? But then let's go a little deeper. And then I want you to share with me what you want me to know. What makes you you? Why are you here at this shul? What's important to you about Jewish life? And then as we have time, please God, in the weeks and years ahead, we're going to go deeper as well. And we're going to learn about each other and our values. We're going to learn beyond the first 10 words of what's important to us, the 10 words after that, and everything that goes into making this community the complex and wonderful place that it is, as we find our way to fit together and to get to know one another. Cannot wait. Thank you so much for the warm welcome so far. Shabbat Shalom.